Hey guys, welcome back to the next episode here on the Sports Talk with Hawk podcast. I am super excited for this one. Today we start the Nostalgia series. Now it's not going to be a straight through series where every day is going to be a different episode in this series. This is going to be sprinkled in. I've got some of these recorded. These will be recorded potentially a week, 2 weeks previous, set up and scheduled out for the days where I just don't get to stream. I don't get to record. Stuff goes on. As you guys know, last week with all the weather, it was really rough. So I didn't get to stream or record as much as I wanted to with everything that was going on. So this is to help fill in the gaps. I am super excited about this. I love nostalgia because that's what makes sports great. Remembering a time in history that just doesn't leave the back files of your memory. Puts you back in that time era, that frame, where you were, what you were doing, how you felt. Nostalgia is very, very important to sports. It's honestly what NBA and MLB have been missing recently. What's on deck for today? The 1998 home run chase. So come along with me as we remember that epic year. Here we go. All right. The year is 1998. Both the Chicago Cubs, Seattle Mariners, St. Louis Cardinals start out the season just like any other year. Now you may be asking yourself, why did I say the Seattle Mariners? Because to me, this will always have been a three-person race, no matter how far the distance was that it ended. I believe not putting Ken Griffey Jr. in this disrespects him and the fact that he's not one of the guys. He was really, really young. And he had an outstanding year that just got overshadowed by two gentlemen that in a sense saved baseball. That year was really, really important to baseball. It also potentially could be the year that destroyed baseball due to all the issues that have come up since then with the steroid use and everything else. But baseball needed a jolt. Baseball needed something to bring it back to national attention. And it happened. It happened in two Midwestern cities, Chicago and St. Louis. It happened in a Northwest city of Seattle. And it was great. Starting out the year, and we'll go mostly is going to be between McGwire and Sosa. That will be the majority of that we talk about. But I'm going to give Ken Griffey Jr. his kudos as he deserves. So when you start out the season, we started out on March 31st. March 31st, McGwire hits a home run right away. On April 2nd, April 3rd, and April 4th, he hit a home run again. So by April 4th, Mark McGwire had 4 home runs, kind of how Aaron Judge played this year. And Sammy Sosa's first home run came on April 4th. When you get through April, things start heating up. As of May 1st, the home run totals were 12 for McGwire, 6 for Sammy Sosa, and Ken Griffey Jr. had a really solid April as well with 10 home runs. So those three together were knocking balls out of the park. When you get down to the end of May, Ken Griffey had added 8 more home runs. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, as of June 1st, were at 27 for McGwire and 15 for Sosa. Ken Griffey had 18. So right now it's 27 for McGwire, 18 for Ken Griffey Jr., and 15 for Sammy Sosa. This race was not only 2 men. It was 3. Griffey was having an outstanding season. Mark McGwire, the first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, seemingly just used power, which it was, to push the baseball out of the ballpark. Sammy Sosa had that iconic stance, that swing that if it went low, it was going high. These men were creating an excitement around baseball. When you hit June, you get into summer. As you get through June, everything went off in June. Sammy Sosa absolutely went ballistic in the month of June. He started the month with 15 home runs. He ended the month with 33. Mark McGwire at that point had 37. Ken Griffey, who had 18 through both of those two, then heading into that, June had 14 home runs. So he's now sitting at 32. So you've got 32 home runs for Ken Griffey Jr. You've got 37 home runs for Mark McGwire and 33 home runs for Sammy Sosa. This was a race. This was a home run chase where 3 men at the end of June were all able to win. It was not going to be a one person just run off into the distance home run title. This was going to be a dogfight, and it was. When you get to July, we get through July 4th. Nothing had happened for quite a while, actually. Sosa and McGwire went on a 10-day dry spell with no home runs. And then, when you get to the end of July, July 31st, the totals were simply this. Mark McGwire, 45 home runs. Sammy Sosa, 42 home runs. And then you look, and Griffey had kind of settled off a little bit. Kind of cooled off. But he had 40 home runs as he hit 8 in July. Then is when everything really slowed down. Ken Griffey through August only hit 6 home runs, and that would be how he ended up kind of falling off of the quote-unquote race. It was actually August that took him out of the race. Heading in after July, he was right there. So you're running now into August. August wasn't a great month. Remember, 45 for McGwire, 42 for Sosa. When you get to the end of August, it is 55 for McGwire and 55 for Sammy Sosa. August 31st, they're both at 55. So they both didn't have a outstanding. It wasn't nearly as hot as June was for Sosa. But they're now tied at 55 home runs. The record is in sight. It's only 7 home runs away. As we get into September, McGwire went on a tear. heading towards the record. He hit a home run. Mark McGwire hit two September 1st. He hit two on September 2nd. And then he hit one on September 5th, one on September 7th. And then that night, I was watching the game. I have always been a Cubs fan. And my family was watching the game. Mark McGwire at 61 home runs. Sammy Sosa is at 58. He had gone a little bit slower to open up September. He was now 3 behind. Mark McGwire against Steve Traskell. I remember every part of this. Sitting in our living room. Everybody was watching. My mom, my dad. And Joe Buck calling that home run. I remember all of it. I remember the excitement. I remember the purity of sportsmanship. I did not say baseball. I said sportsmanship. I remember the awe that everyone was in. It wasn't a flashy star. This wasn't a New York Yankee or a Dodger. This was a St. Louis Cardinal. This was a Chicago Cub. This race wasn't in your flashy places. Wasn't in California, wasn't in New York, wasn't even in Florida. It was in Midwest. It was in a bunch of fields. And Mark McGwire took that pitch high over the left field wall. Rounding the bases, Mark Grace at first base. Jose Hernandez at the time at shortstop. Coming in, he gave a hug to the third baseman. And coming home, Sammy Sosa, after McGwire had gotten mauled and surrounded by his teammates, comes in from the outfield. They did the iconic home run celebration of the Cardinals. And then they did together the iconic Sammy Sosa tribute. That's sportsmanship. That's the purity that you can play with. Being happy for somebody else's success. It's what we've lost. Being happy that somebody else got something first. And being okay that you got it second. It was a night to remember. And I have never forgotten that night. Not once. And what is so interesting about this is the fact that the Cardinals missed the playoffs. They weren't even a playoff team with the home run king at the time. They did not even make the playoffs. The Cardinals that year would go 83-79. The Cubs went 90-73. The Cubs would make the playoffs as the wild card team, and then they would get swept by the Atlanta Braves. But we're only sitting here at September 8th, 1998. The home run race for the year is currently 62-58. The season does not end until September 27th. Between September 8th and September 25th, Sammy Sosa would go from 58 home runs to 66 home runs. September 23rd. 66 home runs. Mark McGwire would hit 8 more home runs as well. He'd go from 62 to 70. They were playing the Montreal Expos. And September 25th, 26th, and 27th, Mark McGwire hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more home runs to claim the season title. His last one was off of Carl Pavano. The last at-bat of the year for Mark McGwire was a home run for number 70, capping off an amazing season. For Sammy Sosa, he hit his 66th off Jose Lima of the Houston Astros at the time on September 25th. He wouldn't hit another home run the rest of the year. Ken Griffey Jr. only hit 6 home runs in August. Like I said, that's why he kind of fell off. But then he hit 9 home runs in September. His last home run came on September 25th as well, a game when he had 1 home run and 5 RBIs. For the season, Ken Griffey Jr. had 56 home runs, 146 RBIs. He walked 76 times and had an average of 284. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, together with Ken Griffey Jr., made one of the most exciting MLB seasons there has been. I do not have the ability to do the Barry Bonds home run chase because that one even I figured out at the time. That one actually probably hurt baseball even more because that's what really ushered in kind of looking into all this. As far as the season goes for Sammy Sosa. So when you look at the statistics, it was a really good year. 66 home runs, 158 RBIs. He batted .308. He walked 73 times. He also struck out 171. That was always an issue because if you pitched him up high, yeah, you weren't really, you weren't going to get hit. He was a horrible high ball hitter. For Mark McGwire, 70 home runs, 147 RBIs. He walked 162 times and batted .299. 1998 was a huge year for Major League Baseball. It kept it alive, and then just a few short years later, 5 years later, killed it. But it was needed. That year, you had every network tuning in to every at-bat through September, through the end of August. It was the chase to Maris. It mattered. It mattered countrywide. It helped keep baseball relevant. Ever since then, we've had a lot of interesting stars. And I'm going to close out this nostalgia episode with this. There was a man named Derek Jeter that played for the New York Yankees. Mariano Rivera. Jorge Posada. Those players were Hall of Fame players. Yeah, they were Yankees. Everybody hated them because Steinbrenner was buying wins. You're allowed to in Major League Baseball. Good for you. But when it came down to some of the biggest moments, we had Josh Hamilton, which unfortunately ended up being a fraud as well, down in Texas. We had Barry Bonds, which was a major fraud, in San Francisco. The Yankees just played with guys that were good. I remember those teams with Bernie Williams. They won all the time, so they were always on TV. But I remember Derek Jeter, Chuck Knobloch, Bernie Williams, Hideki Matsui, Mariano Rivera. I remember David Cone, David Wells. I remember the pitching staff. I watched baseball then. I watched the Cubs for years. For years. My favorite Cubs pitcher in my lifetime, my favorite Cubs pitcher, even though he frustrated the heck out of Cub fans, was Carlos Zambrano. I did not like when he get out of control. Let me be very clear. But he played with passion. The home run race was filled with passion. Filled with what was at the time still America's game. Football knocked them off that pedestal not long after that, about 7 to 10 years after that. But at the time, it was America's pastime. It was America's game. The passion around the country, from Little League to high school to college to Major League Baseball, the country was wrapped up in the 1998 home run chase. And although it has lost some of its allure because of the fraudulent or what is looked at as dirty play, there was a lot of it. I am not a fan of it. I want to be very clear. I'm not a fan of it. But baseball needed it. And it was an exciting time. Exciting time. Because the country was all in on baseball. And it mattered. And it mattered till the final game. And that's what nostalgia is. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We've got some more historic times, series. I've got a lot of things on this list. If there is something like this, even if it's got some grayed out images with it because of what we found out afterwards, put it in the comments. Let me do the research on it. Let me see if I can make it a nostalgia series episode. I appreciate each one of you guys for hanging out. Thank you so much. Remember, sports is passion. You take the passion out of sports, it's not worth playing. And it's definitely not worth watching. You have to care. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one. Hawk out.